Good morning, my friends. Welcome to this episode of Heal Your Codependency. I'm Marshall Berkshire, and I'm your guide into liberating yourself from codependency by helping you stop fixing yourself, start loving yourself by becoming more attuned and anchored to your intrinsic worth. Today I want to talk about the experience of following intrinsic worth. So this is more of an impromptu episode. I don't have a script or anything. It's something that I've been sitting with in myself for a while, and I want to share with you what it means to really live from indomitable worth, because this is something I've been experimenting with for several years. So I can't claim that I have it mastered. I've got it down. This is something I'm discovering along with you. So first of all, what is indomitable worth? Indomitable worth is this concept I have that states that worth is utterly autonomous. Your intrinsic personal worth has no attachments or dependencies on any external factor. It doesn't depend on permission from other people. It doesn't depend on permission from deity. It doesn't depend on permission from you to exist. It doesn't need particular circumstances to exist for it to exist. It does not seek permission. It doesn't have a dependency on anything outside of itself. It's autonomous. It is something that is intrinsic to us, and it is part of what we are made up of. And so when I started exploring this idea of indomitable worth, is this even something that exists? I started to notice in my own trauma work, in my own reactivity to things, in my own responses to things, that there was a lot of pressure within me to do things in order to feel safe or secure in my sense of worth. So they are different. Sense of worth and having worth or being worth are different things. Our sense of worth is our current attunement to what we think our value is. So I was raised to attune to shame, guilt, and permission in order to have a sense of value. So I needed someone else to give it to me, and that would alleviate the shame and guilt I had, and then suddenly I would have worth. This was a really powerful equation in my life, especially in romantic relationships, because a woman showing me love, attention, and affection that I had, that I also had for her, gave me a strong sense of value, especially since I grew up in an experience where I didn't receive that regularly about who I was. And I had been taught and I had experienced and been told over and over that I was not going to have that in my life because I was too nerdy, too ugly, too small. All these reasons, all these conditions were applied to my worthiness being loved. And I believed those things, and then that guided me into behaving certain ways that created a self-fulfilling prophecy. So my sense of worth was forged by my experiences. But a sense of worth is not the same as your actual intrinsic value. Your intrinsic value is autonomous from your experiences. It's autonomous from circumstance. It's autonomous from judgments of other people and judgments from yourself. It's autonomous from external authority. There's no person, place, or thing outside yourself, including yourself, that gets to define your value for you. So the real work in this, when I started exploring this concept and assuming it had these traits, my next question was, well, if innate value or my worth is this way, then how do I get in contact with it? And this is the work of the indomitable worth system. It's getting in contact with it. How do I discover if this is real for me? How do I experience and start to understand it? How do I embody it? How do I be it? How do I express it? That's the work there. The Indomitable Worth experience training that starts this coming Monday takes you through the first step, possibility and discovery, so that you can, by your own volition, by your own experience it. You start to see, oh, while I have all this shame or guilt or all these conditions or all this pressure, all these things I think I have to do to be worthy, I'm also noticing that there's a part of me that doesn't do that. A part of me that feels a stillness, that feels a kindness, that feels a peace there, that is rooted in me, that doesn't seem to change. What changes is my awareness of it, how tuned in to it I am. That's the magic of this. So we don't have to seek permission anymore, my friends, because we never needed it in the first place. We didn't need permission to succeed, to be happy, to thrive. We didn't need permission to have needs, to need support, to weather the challenges we have in our life. We don't need to be worthy enough to be supported through those challenges. So we can give that care. What if we're struggling financially? What if we're wrestling with debt or poverty or, the chaotic financial experiences many of us are having right now? What if that's not about your worth, but that's about circumstance and experience? What if you're still worthy of being supported through it, being loved as you are despite it, and maybe even exiting it and being able to grow your own wealth in your life? The relationship dynamics. What if we're really struggling with that? We have never really experienced a loving relationship. We have failed over and over to have safe or healthy relationships. We keep attracting, put that in quotes, the wrong types, which really we're choosing the wrong types. Does that take away from our worth? No, it doesn't. What if your worth wasn't dependent on that? You still deserved a loving, healthy relationship. And really the work here is learning the skills that help and the knowledge that help us see healthy opportunities, choose it, and grow into it. But we're still worthy of being loved and supported, cared for, despite those things. See, indomitable worth is not contingent on our circumstance, on the outcomes, on our successes, our failures. It doesn't care. It just simply loves us. And it wants us to tune into it and get to know that part of ourself. It wants us to experience and understand this and live from it. Because I have learned in some very hard ways, but very grateful ways, that when I am aligned with my indomitable worth, with my innate value, because they're the same thing, my choices and actions create different results for me because I'm making different choices and actions. I'm choosing different opportunities. I am moving away from familiar ones, more towards new ones that I haven't done yet. I'm more available and open to possibilities for me and opportunities for me. I'm willing to take the risks. I'm willing to fail so I can see what it takes to succeed. And I'm much more honest with myself about what works for me and what doesn't in these processes. So rather than forcing myself to get through something so I can have the outcome, because part of my value is being the hero and doing the hard thing, I'm listening to what brings me joy, what brings me peace, what is necessarily simpler to do that might require some emotional work and clearing, but then after that becomes really easier or much easier to do. See, indomitable worth is going to ask you to grow in your own value, your own power. It's going to ask you to grow in your own wholeness. It's going to ask you to heal. It's going to ask you to let go of beliefs, of habits, of conclusions you hold about yourself, of people, places, and things that don't serve you, so that you can become more aligned with it and produce outcomes that reflect it, that amplify its presence in your world, reinforce your awareness of it. That's the work here. That's my hope for you, that you get to experience this and start seeing the change it brings into your world. Now, it's kind of a trip. I want to talk about how fast this happens, because that's a common question. Well, how fast, Marshall? That urgency of how fast is really a trauma talking. It's our desire to escape pain, to escape a circumstance, and run towards a fantasy about what something would be if that was not there, right? That's kind of a codependent dynamic. When we're coming from Indomitable Worth and we're facing pain, we're facing difficulty in our world, our lives, challenges that we're encountering, it asks us to slow down and start listening. Because when we start slowing down and listening, we become more connected to our own intuitive awareness about what to do with the situations we encounter, more in tune with our brilliance, and more clarity about what we actually want instead, rather than I just want to put this fire out, and I'm going to put this fire out by getting this other outcome. And because that outcome would put this fire out, not because I actually want that outcome. I've learned the hard way that we have a tendency not to go after what we want. We tend to go after things that feel better than what we're in. And we confuse that with wanting it. Feeling better than the fire we're in doesn't mean we wanted that thing in the first place. It meant that it brought some relief to the pain we were in, but it doesn't necessarily equate to this is what I genuinely want. So with Indomitable Worth, it asks us to slow down and start listening and start attuning to what really comes alive within us. And that's typically expressed as kind of like a childlike joy, an exuberance towards a thing. It'd just be fun to do that. It'd be fun to have that. It'd be fun to experience that. It doesn't have a big gravity on it. It doesn't have big weight on it. It's not forcing us to do that thing. It's free and it breathes. It's allowed to expand and contract on its own because our value isn't attached to it. So we feel a lot safer in encountering these things and doing these things because there's not this risk that it adds to or takes away from our worth. This is the magic of Indomitable Worth. It's something I continually re-experience and have reaffirmed in my own journey. It's something I'm still getting to know. So you and I are on the forefront of this development. This is where it's experimental, it's advanced, we're exploring things. And that's just really, really cool. So my friends, you don't need permission to have value. You already have it. You are already made up of this. Your work here is to open up to the possibility of it and then move into the discovery of it, the experience of it, the liberation of it, and then the embodiment and the expression of it. And that's what I help you accomplish in the Indomitable Worth system. So come join me this coming Monday, November 14th, for training 1 in this, where we do possibility and discovery over 2 days, November 14th and November 16th. So day 1, we talk about possibility. Day 2, we talk about discovery. And on both of these days, you're going to have practices we do in class and that you're going to do on your own to cultivate this experience for yourself. Because you don't need to take my word on it. You shouldn't take my word on it. You need to experience this for yourself to actually begin to get the gravity, the momentum you need in order to actually integrate it and begin to liberate it in your life so that you can start living from it and seeing the magic it brings into your world. So the link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. Come join us. There's 84 of us in this round, so that's really exciting. Enrollment will close this Saturday, so I have a day to get everything sorted and get everybody in position. So Saturday, the doors close. So come join us. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And then let me know your guys' thoughts on today's episode below in the comments. Thank you again for your support and your feedback. Appreciate you. And have a great day. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.